Greetings, my golden friends. Today we have another episode from Belarus, and the topic of discussion today we're gonna speak about delusion, ignorance in spiritual field. So it's huge. It's a big topic. So you can use 1.75 or 1.50 speed to go quicker. But I suggest you also to have a pen and paper ready. Somewhere you usually write something interesting, something about your spiritual education, because this is the highest education you can get for yourself. And I'm gonna use a lot of examples from my own life from the past, where I had a lot of delusions, a lot of mistakes and misunderstandings, and I can share with you on my experience what I've done wrong in the past and also people around me. And together we will to grow spiritually. You also can make some comments, write something from your point of view, what's maybe something I missed, because I'm going to miss a lot of errors. There are a lot of them. And people are in the dark. People are not um, clearly pushing the right buttons. So in the beginning, let's talk about God, and everything around is made to push you away. Like, don't look at it. It's not important. God is. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of spiritual buildings all around the world. There are a lot of churches built, but there are very few good teachers there who can explain logically and simply about God and how important it is for you to educate yourself about God. And if you if you carefully look around the music industry, the Hollywood, movies, entertainment, uh, government officials, they all working 24/7 to push you away from God. So you don't look deep into it. Even the language, if you look at the word God in reverse, is dog. And a lot of people don't understand, but it's huge when you look at the word and you think, oh, dog, God, I don't need to know about that. That's not important. And a lot of people stay away from this topic just because etymologically it doesn't sound very good and appealing to many people. But yeah. By the way, in university, I had a teacher, and the subject was freedom of speech and religion, something like that. And I remember this teacher, and I was very excited. But I don't know why, because I was very religious from the very young age. But I remember when he came to the class, this teacher, he was totally drunk. I mean, he was drunk, like big time. I was like, holy moly, stand straight. And he's talking about God. So that was a big push away for me. Like, that's when I was getting a little cool attitude towards God. I was like, well, if this is what God is, and teachers who teach about it, I don't want to get close to it. But again, that was my own delusion. Just because you find some bad teachers in your life, it doesn't mean you shouldn't look into the topic of God. It's the most important topic. So let's begin. So, yeah, in your education, you're going to have to push and push and push, educating yourself more and more and more until you reach the 100% enlightenment. And that's when you will understand all religions, because all of them are talking about the same single God, non-dual God. And also I'm going to be using examples in this video, not talking about particular people. They're all good people. All of us are good people. We have the spark of God inside of us. But the delusions and errors that we all make once in a while, they have to be discussed. So I decided to write this script. It's like 4 pages, it's long, but it's important for us to discuss it. And your comments are very helpful to all of us. So when I was growing up in a very young age, my parents introduced me to religion, of course, like most of people are. My mother was highly religious, and my father was like, he was not. And my sister was not either. So I was the only one with my mother who was going on a regular basis to this Catholic church. But I always felt there's something missing. It just feels something weird. Like these people don't answer my questions, and it's almost like they're hiding something from me. Like what's going on? And it's also during the time when Soviet Union collapsed, and it just when churches were able to open because they were closed. In my childhood, early childhood, they were closed, and then after 1991, I guess they slowly started to open their doors. I had the suspicion that the priests and this church workers, they were probably, again, I'm speculating, they were probably instructed by KGB or some agents of the government what they're allowed to say about God and what they're not. Because if you look at the Bible, I think Bible was rewritten more than 20 times for a reason. They were trying to hide the real truth from people. So you always feel like something is missing, because it is. So yeah, very very young I started to read the Bible. I read it twice by the year of when I was 13 or 14, and it was just still not enough. There was something missing. I had a lot of questions, like all these rituals, the candle, burning the candle. I didn't understand what is it symbolic. The cross on the chest. Why are we wearing the cross? I did not understand. I was in ignorance. And saying all these prayers, I knew them by heart, but I was like, why is it not working? Like if I had the desire for something, I'll be praying to God and I would not get it. I was like, what is going on? Like God is not listening to me. So then somebody told me that you probably have angel, and I was like, where? How do I talk to him or her? And it was kind of like the answers did not satisfy me. Like I did not get it. Like what is this? And some people, like I have a childhood friend who tells me like I have angel. I was like, really? Yeah, and he helps me a lot. And it's just drunk alcohol. And I was like, if you have angel, it's not doing a good job. Because you drinking and drinking alcohol, it doesn't feel like you have an angel. So a lot of people are in this delusion about many aspects of God. So, and then the next interesting point that I have, when the religion started to become more open in USSR, uh, one of the girls in my class came to class with this huge, I mean, something so humongous that you cannot not notice it. Like it's big, it's right up in your face, and the teachers were like rolling up their eyes, but they were silenced because it's okay now and you cannot say anything. And but the girl, nobody explained to her that the cross is a symbol, the crucifixion. You cross something when you're done with it. It's a symbology for us to cross all the desires. So the my video about the desires, you can really uh, get in deep into it and listen to it carefully about the desires and logical explanation how your desires get you into trouble. So the cross is a symbol reminder, the ritual that you have to eventually come to a conclusion that you need to destroy your desires. That's why they burn candles. It's also a symbol for destroying completely all the desires. But she came with a big cross, and I don't know if she had so many desires. She was so full of sins, because sin is your desire. It's nothing else than desire is a sin. So maybe when people have big crosses, they have big desires. They have a lot of desires for a lot of material things. But spiritual and material are total opposites. They are totally opposite from each other. And yet, your spirit, your eternal spirit within your heart, is within the material. It's in the rib cage, right? Your heart is within the rib cage. It's stuck there. So I told this girl about the symbology, and she thought it was just good idea to wear this huge cross, but nothing happens if you do these rituals. You have to understand and contemplate and do something about your desires. Another delusion some people have, it's about crossing yourself in many different occasions, at the funerals, in church. And this example, when I was a mechanic in New Jersey, we had a contract with this limousine company, and they had horses, this car that drives the casket, and we have to test this car. So I was driving this car, and I see this old lady with a granddaughter. She's crossing herself, looking at the car, and hitting this girl that she's not crossing herself, because she, I guess, told her that in this situation you're supposed to do it. And the girl was like, what? So again, it's a misunderstanding. If you cross yourself or not cross yourself, forget it or not forget it, it's a symbol. When you cross, it means you one day will have no desires for material pleasures, and you're totally spiritually awake person. But because of people misinterpreting, making these errors, and we are floating in the delusion. So that's one of them. And oh, the next one, somewhere in the year of 2004, one of my friends, she invited me to go to this British church. I think it's Anglican, with a red door, and it's very free. It even allows women to preach, and that was the case when I came that day. It was a woman who was reading the Bible in front of everybody, and I thought it was great. It's cool that women are allowed to do this, because I thought there should be no discrimination. But then she said something that really didn't rock my boat, let's say. And it's an spiritual ignorance. And she, of course, had the best intention. Most of these people we discussed, they all have the best intention. But during that time, it was a war with Iraq. Remember, 2004, something like that. And she said this phrase innocently, just like, she invited everybody, let's pray for our soldiers in Iraq. And I was like, why not for enemies? Because the words of Jesus, you should love thy enemy. You should love your enemy. So we should pray for soldiers and everybody. Like, everything is one God's creation. So this was a delusion. So I waited and I walked away. And later on, my friends were like, why did you walk away? So I waited, because if you do it right there and there, that you disagree with something, you might be stoned to death. So you have to be very careful with religious practice, because some people who are not there on the high level of spiritual development, they will misinterpret your gestures, your words. Like even if, like from my videos, like you can take a small part of my videos, like 1 minute, 2 minute, and then say this guy is bad. Look what he's saying, because they would not show you the whole video. Like my video could be 1 hour, 2 hour, but they will show you like 1 or 2 minutes on TikTok and say this guy, look, it's bad, it's bad. So yeah, be careful with what you do, because religion is very flimsy topic, difficult topic. It's not easy to explain God, because words lose their power when you talk about God. So yeah, that was one of the things that, let's pray just for our soul. Just misunderstand is an error, spiritual error. Then after 10 years working as a mechanic, I started to develop this in my back, in my spine, and just out of intuition, out of my heart, which is your intuition comes from your heart. I asked my doctor, the chiropractor, is yoga is good? And she's like, yeah, yoga exercises are very good for your spine. So that's when I started to delve into yoga, not even knowing what it's religion, and it's actually a way towards God. But the physical exercises many people take as yoga. And that's actually the longest journey towards God. Physical, because we have 3 parts in ourselves: physical body, emotional body, intellectual body. Physical body, you do physically karma, cause and weight, and you exercise your biceps muscle, you get a bigger biceps. Cause and effect. You created the cause, you exercise, and as an effect, you have a bigger bicep. Same thing in yoga exercise. All the things that they do, back bends, headstands, split, all good for your body. You develop the body, but your spirit is not the body, and you have to come to that conclusion one day. Then there is bhakti yoga for your emotions, where you sing songs, kirtan, and do devotional things. That's a little bit faster. Your emotions will lead you to understanding God. And then there's jnana yoga. It's intellectual yoga, where you read the scriptures. And in Hinduism, their main works are Upanishads. We'll talk about it later. And also there's Bhagavad Gita and some other ones. But basically, if you do all 3 towards God, if you do all your actions for God, your emotions are for God, and your intellect, your thoughts are always about God, you will come to God. So after a few years of practice, this organization with a guru came to my life, and they found me. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because his books were very well written. So I'm going to show you the book that I have. It's the complete works of Swami Parthasarathy. And let's not call him a charlatan. It's not saying the whole truth. So that's what it does. And they have to say it, I guess, up front, that they a little bit lying to you. Look at the name, Parthasarathy. If you look at the beginning, part has a rat. There's a rat in it. Something is wrong with this book. Part has a rat. So also, if you look at the colors of the book, it's reddish with bluish. And if you look at the symbology, red and blue, if you mix those colors together, one thing is police, they use red and blue, right? But it's the color of purple, because when you mix them together, red and blue, you get purple color. And purple is the color of Vatican. And the Vatican has its hands in all cookie jars, unfortunately, at this point, almost all of them. And I think it's Vatican shill. This person. Let's see his picture. Here's a picture of this guy, Swami. Yeah, they're always smiling, like Barack Obama. He always smiling, right? So he like in the beginning it starts easy, like simple kids stuff, and it gets deeper, and then you get Bhagavad Gita with his commentaries. By the way, great commentaries. It's good stuff, but he's not saying the complete truth. And then there's at the end 4 Upanishads, only 4. And when I was asking these teachers who use his method, like why only 4? Because there are more than 100. Oh, that's enough. That's enough. But it's not enough. It's just the stuff that they can get away with without getting too deep and giving you too much knowledge, because there is such thing as too much knowledge. You don't want to give too much knowledge to slaves. Basically, that's how they look at us. You want to give them just enough to be in delusion. So let's put this book away. I have few points about this guy. Something has a rat in it, blue and red. We talked about Vatican. Oh, by the way, I think his nationality is Jewish, and I'm not saying that all Jewish are in conspiracy and bad, but this guy particularly, what I've made research, I think he's Jewish, and it's probably connected to Vatican, and they are hiding the complete truth from us. By the way, one of the pictures, they actually took it down from their website. He was standing in front of his building, in front of the ashram in India, and on the clock, the huge clock on the building, the time was 9:11, 9 o'clock, 11 minutes. Coincidence? I don't know what that word means. Yeah, there are no coincidences. It's like warning. There's something's fishy here. There are only 4 Upanishads, and there's no complete knowledge about God. So when you read Upanishads, there are 200, I think more than 200, out of which around 100 is authentic, considers. But I would say more. I would say even out of those 100 authentic Upanishads, I would say there's also some fishy things going on. So be careful when you read them. Use critical thinking, logical thinking, and if something is not, it doesn't sound right, it probably is not right. So be very, very careful, because anybody can put the clothing of Roman Pope with this mitra hat and learn the the language, how to speak very monotonous, and very educated, and you can be a priest. It's not a big deal, right? So when I started to ask from this guru and his disciples, also gurus, the simple questions, and they were playing fools. They were like, "Oh, we don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's not necessary." So when they start avoiding certain hard, simple, easy questions, then you might know that something's wrong with the organization. So of course I asked them about Kichari Mudra, and you can watch my videos about it. I'm going to show you quickly now. Kichari Mudra is when you swallow your tongue and connect to the pineal gland, the tip of your tongue. It looks like this. Okay, so the tongue goes behind the uvula, and when you reach the pineal, and heart and brain connect together. Very important. I'm not going to talk much about it here, but every time I asked them, they ignored me by phone. They did not want to talk about it. So that was a red flag for me. And then when the whole thing started with this, I'm not even sure if I can say this name, but let's say what's happened in the last few years, since 2020 till this day. People are getting a needle into their skin. You know what I mean? So this organization, this guru released this statement that It's happening because we eat animals. If we did not eat animals, everything would be fine. And I thought to myself, that's a logical mistake. Lions eat animals, and wolves eat animals, and they don't get this problem. They don't wear masks. So that was a red flag for me too when they released that statement. And by the way, I probably made some mistakes in my past in some of my videos saying stop eating completely. I apologize. It's a mistake on my part. It's um, it's nothing. It's part of the God's creation on earth. This is this reality that we actually hunt. Our ancestors did it. There's probably some truth to. Again, this is Muslim religion, and Jewish people do not eat pigs. It's possibility that it's GMO, genetically modified organism, that it's a mixture of human DNA and wild boar. When they mix them together, they get this GMO product, pig. It's a possibility. I'm not sure. Like at this point, I do my best to avoid. But other sources, fish, chicken, eggs. That's something for your body to build a protein base. I think it's important. So look into it. Again, do your own research. This is why I love yogic approach, because they're so detailed with everything. They have one of the yamas and niyamas. They actually say self-education. You're supposed to educate yourself. Like yes, there are certain good teachers will give you good knowledge, but you have to check, double check, and maybe even test it on your body. How does your body react to it? So also this guy Swami Parthatharthi, he was saying that if you are over 50 years old and started the spiritual practice, it's too late. You finished. I'm not sure. I think any time of the life, if you start on your journey towards God, it's always a good idea. It's never a waste of time. So listen to a lot of lectures, read a lot of books. You can read anything that speaks to you. Quran, Bible, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads. I like Upanishads because it's very short, terse, dense, lots of knowledge, and then you read them every day. It gets settled in your udana, by the way. That's another capacity to store knowledge, udana. So yeah, when you read something from spiritual books, make sure you are doing it like the hardest subject, like physics, quantum physics, chemistry. Like this is what I have. I have 4 copybooks, and now I just bought a 5th one because I write Vedanta into them. Veda means knowledge, anta end, the end of knowledge, the culmination of knowledge, the knowledge about God. So I write the statements, I write something that really speaks to me, the quotes, then I contemplate, then I open them and reread them. Again, it's not just write it and forget about it. No. Periodically, I will open them and read them again, and it will be like, oh my God, I didn't think about it this way, or it did not appear to me this way. You keep on using this knowledge and apply it in your life, then it becomes your wisdom, spiritual wisdom. That's the way to go. Contemplate, write it down, discuss it with your spiritual group. Very important if you have support group. Very important. I am working on creating now. If some of you is interested to create a website or some kind of platform that people can discuss spiritual topics, please let me know. And eventually, when you get a lot of knowledge, you will be ready for meditation or prayer in silence. You can also watch my video about the silent prayer meditation in silence. Because right now, people are praying for something, and that's spiritual beggary. Like, God, give me some money, give me health, give me this. Not understanding what is really happening. So then I came back in 2018 to Belarus and from United States. And I had this neighbor who was from Kazakhstan or Tajikistan or some other country, but they have Muslim religion as the main religion. And he was so afraid here because there's no Muslims people, and he was only temporary living here for work, for business. So he saw in me a spiritual person, because it's noticeable during the conversations. I always use God as a topic. So he started to come and talk to me about God, and it was interesting to see him cry, because when we were, outside somewhere, he asked me like politely, "Can I pray?" Because I know there's 5 times they're supposed to pray to Allah, and I said, "Sure, of course, I'll wait for you. Go for it." So he was praying and crying, and then it was so interesting to see that he actually was crying that I allowed him to pray to Muslim deity, right? The main God, Allah, and I had no problem with it, no issue. But he got too comfortable with me. Then he was like trying to force it on me, saying that don't say God, say Allah. I was like, what is the difference? God is one. It doesn't mean what word we use. He's like, no, it's a big difference. We need to use Allah. So I was like, okay. So this is another error, spiritual error. A lot of people use that. Words are important. It's difficult. It's not easy. Because words lose their power. That's why you pray in silence. So then he had this interesting spiritual error, saying that in Arabic language, we write from right to left. You write from left to right. We do it opposite. So when we write, he said, we write and we see the light, because we go towards the light. Usually right-handed people go from right to left, and you see the sun as it approaches the paper, right? And us writing from left to right, we write into darkness. I mean, you have to get a pen and take a look what is he talking about, because this was his spiritual error, thinking that they are more highly evolved because of this little tiny thing of aspect. And I thought to myself, oh my God, one of these little tiny things that people can start the war. Our religion is better than yours because we are writing into light. It's so tricky, so tricky, and so much pride in it too. And there's no logical base. Absolutely. So I was slightly debating with him, but I was realizing it's useless. Like, he was one of these, I guess, religious fanatics who was told a certain way, and he grasped it as it is, and it's cement. You cannot move him from that ground. It's cemented. So yeah, also a lot of people, when I came back from United States, they were curious, like, what happened? Like 18 years you were there and now you're here. And some of them will approach me with this question, so you think our God is better? So that's a question. Like, our God is better. Our God. They have mostly in the United States Christians too. I mean, it's all Christianity. What are you talking about? Better God? That's another error. A lot of people think our God is better. Then my friend from university found out that I came back, and he asked me the question, like, what religion are you? I was like, me and my mother Catholics. And he's like, oh, Catholics, we are Russian Orthodox, and you guys gonna burn in hell. And he wrote this huge letter to me, talking about how I'm gonna burn in hell if I don't convert into Russian Orthodox. I was like, oh my God, what is going on here? So that was there are many reasons for this video for me to record. Um, then one of my students, when I was teaching yoga, and it was interesting because people who practice yoga with me, I was explaining to them, this is only physical exercise. It's the lowest of the lowest, basic for your physical body. And they get it. Some of them were Christian, Orthodox, some of the Catholics, same Jesus, same Bible, but they were amongst themselves a little fighting. And I remember one lady, she said, you're supposed to stand up when you pray. Because it's in Russian Orthodox, they standing up, they standing. And in Catholic, there's seats, you can sit down. So now the spiritual era, people think that just because of position makes a huge difference. A next topic is not related to religion, it's related more to propaganda of government. When I came back to Belarus, I see this sign everywhere. I love Belarus. Literally, I love Belarus. I mean, it's everywhere. I love USA. I'm sure tons of it all around in USA. I love my country. I love my... And as a result of this propaganda, not exactly this result, but it's ground for it. I heard these children play one day. It was the summertime. And I guess somebody from Lithuania came to visit the grandmother and grandfather here in Ashmiany in Belarus. And, they're from Lithuania. They do speak Russian, but we are right on the border here. So I hear these children scream and yell, beat him up, he's not ours, he's not Belarusian, he's from Lithuania. And that's children. That's how they look at it now, because they see everywhere that I love Belarus. Means Belarus is love, everything else is not love. So would be nice, would be much nicer if governments would write something everywhere that all God's creation is beautiful. Everything in God's creation is deserve love. Not making any borders, not making any hate, but unfortunately, we do have this propaganda now all around the world, not just Belarus. And a lot of people in it also some sort of delusions with huge toys, spiritual toys. They think if they get a huge candle for the grandparents, it's better than a small candle. If they get a huge cross for their chest, it's better than a small cross. All it is a reminder for us to cross the desires and cross the ignorance. The next point is Moscow. When I was in Moscow for 2 months, I decided to spend a few weeks in the evening looking into this organization that promoted Buddhism. And I was like, that's interesting. Let's take a look at it. I had the opportunity and time to do it, so I was like, let's look into it. So this is what happened to me. As you walk into this basement, because that's where it was, in the basement, there's this spinning device, and I don't know exactly, but I'm sure it's a good meaning. You spin it as you walk down. Something that I can think of, it's like when you look at the glass from one side, and if you look long enough, you can understand the one aspect of this glass, and you think, oh, I know God, and then oops, it starts turning, and then you're like, oh, it's different here, I don't know, this is totally different here, and it keeps on spinning. So maybe this is some symbology that God in material world is constantly evolving and changing. So maybe somebody can correct me and put some in the comments. But yeah, this was a ritual right at the beginning. And then as I started to come second, third time, they started to notice me, like, who is this guy? So they sent down my way some bosses of this organization to talk to me because they saw that I'm knowledgeable. I've been collecting information about God for a long time. And I asked them simple question. I asked them, like, give me the definition of God. And they're like, oh, we don't know. Give me a definition of meditation, because they constantly meditate and it's done in foreign language. And I was like, translate it to me. They're like, oh, we don't know the whole translation. So it was very like fishy, washy, and very not clear cut, let's put it this way. And I asked them, like, how do you approach your desires? Like, how do you eliminate your desires? How do you help each other? And they're like, desire? No, we don't. We actually we want everything. We want pleasures. We want material life. We want. I was like, well, that's interesting. So you want, and you want more. So that doesn't sound very spiritual. And then they started to push me away. I can feel it, and it was few methods they used because I know too much, and I might send some seeds of knowledge, true knowledge, to some of these mostly young kids, like teenagers in this organization, maybe in their early 20s. So they were trying to push me away. First, they were like, oh, we need some money. Only those are good who can help us with money. They were actually pushing this agenda. Like, we need a lot of money because they are trying to take our building away, and we need to pay for something. Who knows? So, and then some other things that were like big red flag. First lecture is free, but then you have to pay for the second one. And coming to this first lecture, I was like, I didn't get any benefits. Like, this guy clearly didn't know his topic. God is the highest topic, and all he's talking about how this organization is great and has many branches, and you guys can travel and stay because they had a lodging, so you can sleep there, take a shower. So it almost looked to me like it's a homeless facility with some religious connotation to it. So it was kind of weird. Again, I'm not talking about bad about Buddhism. It's just this particular organization, right? Then I came one day, and they knew exact time because I would always come in at the same exact time. Nobody's around. It's kind of empty, and on the center of the table, which is this huge wooden table, when we all gather around and have some tea, there's this sandwiches, some bread and some butter and some cheese. And I was like, oh, a red flag, because I've experienced something like that in Peru, in Lima. And this is an interesting warning for some of you who would like to travel. There's a spiritual travel going on, and sometimes it's dangerous. So I was almost poisoned in this spiritual place, Eco Truly Lodge, near Lima, Peru. Take a look at it. It's like 24 miles away from Peru, Eco Truly Lodge. And I was only for 7 days there, and I was exercising by the ocean, and I feel like worse and worse. Like, I'm feeling really like weak, and I'm feeling not good. And I have this inside, because I only had food for maybe 1 day for myself, and then I have to eat their food. So the only thing I could think of is like, there's some poison in their food. They are poisoning me. I think it was true. So I had to run away from that place. And then here in Moscow, in Buddhism, I was like, okay, I'm not touching this food, not interested, thank you. And then I kind of moved on, and so the lesson here is, please test your spiritual teachers, gurus. Ask simple questions. Give me a definition of God. Where is God? When did God begin? Simple stuff, and then you actually will get some really good answers if it's a good teacher. And if you feel good help from that teacher, then stick with it. It's good. You found your guru, you found your teacher. But if you feel something dangerous, don't stick with it. Another interesting case. One of these ladies, a few weeks ago, she's retired, but she's still working. And a lot of people do that. They already retired, but still working because they want some more money, because it's more money they get paid. So this is what she said. Look, I thought to myself that when I retire, I will be rich and everything will be good. So she kind of, because we talk about spiritual topic and also material pleasures, because spiritual and material are opposites. But if you are going towards spiritual, you will also get material benefits as well along the journey. But if you only go for material, it's happening sometimes you get none. You don't get spiritual benefits or material. So that was her case. She didn't get anything. Although she was highly religious, she believed. But of course, in our situation here in Belarus, there's no good teachers here who would, you can ask questions like, what am I supposed to do? How do I approach God? And nobody can help you. You're supposed to find yourself in the darkness, because most of these priests, they are in the darkness as well. So yeah, and she felt it. She was betrayed because USSR collapsed. She lost all her money. Right now, there's the same thing going on with Bitcoin. A lot of people lose money again. Nothing stays, nothing's different. Same robbery. Government takes away from poor people, from poor slaves. Your investments in Lehman Brothers or Bernie Madoff, where is this, it stops. Or even simple example, your house can catch on fire and most of your material pleasures will be gone in one day. You don't know. Just like physical body, your physical body can be done in one day. By the way, my mother just passed away recently, and it was much easier for me than my sister. No, for me, knowing that she is a spirit, she's not a body. And actually, my mother came into my dream twice after she passed away, and she kind of told me like everything's perfect. She was suffering for 3 years before she died, so her spirit is eternal. My sister, she's atheist. She doesn't believe in God, and I don't know what's in her head. Where's our mother now? It's just the end, and that's it. So yeah, so this lady, she's still working, being retired. Yes, Belarus is a very, very poor country, and a lot of people are, they get nothing. When they retire, it's very hard living, and a lot of people think when I retire, I'll get some spiritual education, and it's very difficult because your brain is full of unnecessary information, and it's not capable of learning new information. So it's very tricky. The next point, that Jesus and many other spiritual teachers, they were teaching us eternal life. Eternal life, So the way towards eternal life, it's to get the spiritual knowledge. And then eventually, when you get a lot of spiritual knowledge, you can pray or meditate in silence. That's a true meditation. But you cannot get to eternal life by material action, which is have beginning and end. You have to destroy your desires in final meditation or prayer in silence, when all your desires complete. And that's not easy. And that's a symbology for the candle, to burn the desires, cross, to put the cross to eliminate desires, smoke. People use smoke to cleanse their home. It has a beginning and it has an end. Also, let's talk about here in Belarus, Christianity is the basic religion. And of course, I think in capital there are some Muslim and Buddhism and maybe even Hinduism um, temples, but majority is Christian. And in our library, there's a Bible only, official governmental library. That they do have a Bible, and I also around the Bible found some spiritual. A lot of spiritual books talk so negatively about yoga and Hinduism. It is something evil. That is something bad. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. Is it the same thing if I go to India and go to their library? They'll be talking bad about Christianity. I'm sure I'll find some books, so these spiritual wars bittering going on for a very long time. And all these wars because of God. Our God is better. So if you are a very highly intellectual person, I would suggest to read as much as you can from all the religions. You'll come to the same conclusion. God is one, non-dual. And to get to God, you have to eliminate the desires. That's it. All religions saying the same thing with different words, different languages. So those who are looking for, they'll find it. I think Jesus said, keep on knocking and somebody will open. Keep on looking and you shall find. And you will find it in your heart. That eternal God is always within our heart. We just have to discover it. Once you get 100% enlightened, you will understand all religions at once. Because it's like cows. Cows are different colors, but they all give the same milk. Same thing as religions. All different religions, but the philosophy about God and the idea how to come to God is the same. And also, there's another statement that, by the way, you can write it down. I think it's very helpful about cows. Cows are different, milk is the same. And also, the wise person, when he finished learning from all the books about the real God, he leaves all the books behind, just like a person who looks for a seed leaves the husk behind. Like you don't need the husk, you just need the seed, the kernel. Another spiritual era for Christians, a lot of people are waiting for the second coming, and they're waiting and then waiting and then they're waiting, and they're like, I'm gonna go and have a cigarette and when he comes, he'll fix it all. Because right now it's a mess. Everybody agrees that the world is a mess, but when he comes, he'll help me to quit cigarettes and alcohol, but I'm gonna go and enjoy it for now. So people are looking towards that miracle, not understanding that the second coming is within themselves. You see a lot of pictures of Jesus pointing to his heart, that I'm there. Jesus is inside of you. So you have to do it. If you want to get rid of the desire for smoking, you have to quit yourself, not waiting for somebody else. And a lot of people in the spiritual delusion that our God is real God. Only our God will save the whole world. Really? I think Christianity is not the most followed. I think Muslim religion is the most followed, and even Hinduism is huge. So they'll find this phrase, there's no other way but our God, in some kind of spiritual book, and they think that's what it means. Only this will help me, not everything else. But you can find this phrase, I think, in every book, that only our way is the way. Our way or the highway, it's only our way. And for God, they use different aspects. They describe in many religious books as male or female. They'll use different powers, the power to heal, power to kill, right? Different weapons will be in their hands, um, different feelings. Like they'll say, oh, Jesus was all love. It was all love. But think, Jesus was throwing the tables by the synagogue when they were selling the religious tchotchkes, religious toys, candles, I'm sure, and something else at that time. He was angry that they used the holy place as a marketplace. So he was not always love. When there was time, he would use some feisty words and some anger even. So now we are gradually coming to the big long topic, Hinduism, this is one of the religions that I studied after Christianity, because first I started to practice physical yoga, then I started to look into Indian scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, as we discussed before. So the Indus Valley, it's one of the oldest civilizations that still exists till this day. And what I've heard, I've never been there, but I've heard that there are still yogis, and some of them, they claim, or somebody said, that they are eternal or long living, like for thousands of years. So you can get to the high state, very high state. And they were speaking about God verbally only. They don't have any books. They are almost completely naked. And they come down to the towns once a year, and people have a possibility to ask some questions. And I'm sure there are a lot of charlatans there too, who would get naked and pretend to be guru. It's a business. For a lot of people, it's business for money. But there are a lot of also authentic yogis who really connected to God. So Indus Valley is one of the largest civilizations, and we see that other ones been, like Roman empires collapsed, Egypt collapsed, Machu Picchu in South America collapsed, and many others. And as we looking now, who knows? Right now, Russia can collapse, and who knows what else can collapse. But in India, their past wisdom people, they decided to put a deity everywhere. So every aspect of life was religious, it was a symbol, it was a ritual, and any way you look, you see a deity. So many people think that Hinduism is plural for gods, like there are many gods, but that's not the case. That's ignorance. And they only have one main god, Brahman, with the letter N at the end. Yes, they have three other ones, Brahma with the letter A at the end, Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, a god who preserves the creation, and Shiva is God who destroys the creation. But those three aspects of the same one God. Just like you make the cake, you create it, you put it in the fridge to preserve it for a few days, and when the celebration comes, you eat it, you kill it, you destroy it, right? It's also ritual. So three aspects in one God. And also they use different kinds of aspects, as Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, Lakshmi, the goddess of money, wealth, and you also probably heard about Krishna, Sita, Ram, and many others. But that's all aspects of the same one non-dual God. Look into Advaita Vedanta. Advaita means non-dual, one. Because if you say one God, your mind tends to think there's two and three and four and five. So they say non-dual. Everything is one God. There's nothing but one God. So that's hard to comprehend for a lot of people. So yeah, there's a lot of misunderstanding of Hinduism. And we talked about Upanishads, one of the oldest creations about God. And I think in the beginning there were sutras, there were mouse to mouse, they were not written, they were just talked by mouse. And later on they used print and they started to write them down. So there are a lot of Upanishads, 200 or so, out of which around 100 supposedly authentic. And even then, you should be careful. I'm sure they've been modified. So it's a lot of lies in between the lines, so be careful. So yeah, in previous lives, this wisdom people, they decided to put everywhere gods, so people will remember always about God. But was it a mistake or not? Who knows? Because right now a lot of Hindu people are in deep delusion because of that. Also, those wisdom people were warning India that in the future you will come to a problem of overpopulation. And I think it is correct now. There's so many people in India, 1 billion and 100 something million on a small part of land. And it's because of the climate. Climate is amazing and food grows year round. So people are reproducing, in this kind of environment. So I was twice in Hindu temple, somewhere north of New Jersey. I had to drive for almost 2 hours. And what was very disturbing to me is you're supposed to take the shoes off on the first floor and then you go upstairs barefoot. And I love barefoot, but when I took my shoes off, I noticed the smell. And the smell was not pleasant because a lot of people, their shoes, they smell. And there's a shower there, you can wash your feet, but a lot of people, the traffic is huge. And so when you come to the second floor, there's a white marble, the floors are warm, and somebody yelled at me that I was walking, because you enter, it's the same entrance and exit. You enter, you're supposed to go clockwise. I guess because of the sun. Sun goes clockwise around the earth. And I was going counterclockwise, and somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, you're not doing it correctly." No. And I was okay, I'm sorry, I'm new. So that was one thing. Again, a lot of people misunderstand. It's also spiritual error that this is how you do it, and if you don't do it, you burn in hell. That's misunderstanding. So I was not ready, so I did not bring any fruits or coconuts or flowers. And there's all meaning about those ceremonies. So, for example, when you bring the flower to a priest, you're supposed to take the flower with your fingers pointing down. And when you give the flower, you give it with fingers pointing up. So that's, again, very deep ritual. Many people don't understand why it's done this way. When you are using your 5 sensors, your eyes to see, your ears, we have 5: smell, taste, and skin, touch. So you use them. If you're not careful, if you're using your sensors, you might accumulate additional desires. For example, I have a friend who loves the massage. So years ago, he got a nice massage and he felt good, his skin, pleasure, and that feeling of a pleasure, he's going for it now again and again. Everywhere he goes on vacation, he has to get a massage, always get a massage. And I'm not saying it's wrong. Like, for example, if your back is in pain, it's good to get a massage. It's, you know, it's not criticizing. But if you keep on looking in the same pleasure, you might get stuck in this material world. You keep on picking new desires, you know, and it gets cemented in your brain that I have to have this ice cream because it feels so good on my tongue. I have to have this $10 ice cream. You know, you don't have to. You can get a cheaper one, you know, for $2, $3. But some people just get stuck in that idea. So if you're not careful, you will get stuck. And when you give it to a priest, right, you're supposed to use all your five senses for God. All I see is for God. All I hear is for God. All I taste, that's a ritual. When you use all your five senses doing it for God, then you become spiritual. And that's important. Then in India, they used to build temples on high grounds in the mountains. And there was only one single way for one person to go towards that temple. Right now, they build highways, roads, people drive on the cars. It becomes easy. But it used to be that way, just for one person, because the spiritual journey is just for you alone. You cannot bring your mother, brother, sister, father, anybody with you. You can help them if they want to, but it's your own personal journey. That's the idea. And because of this long journey in the mountains, coconut was one of the best foods to bring as an offering to a priest, to a guru. So that became recently a problem because they are breaking the coconut and they're looking at, oh, it didn't break well. It's two halves, but that's not even. It's not a good sign. It's like black cat, you know. And also, I've seen this video where this line of women sitting down, closed eyes, and waiting for this to happen. And this guy behind them comes with a coconut and breaks the coconut right on top of the head. And these poor women, you know, they call ambulance and they put stitches on there. You know, this ritual, it become demonized, really. And they're not understanding the really true meaning, which is beautiful. So take a look at it. So the coconut has three parts. And actually it has three dots. And only one dot you can penetrate. If you have purchased a coconut or find a coconut, you will find that only one of them is easy to penetrate. The other two are solid. You know, it's hard. So I remember I used to use a small key to make a hole and drink the juice out of it, the milk out of it. So the hard part, the outside dark brown, corky part, a representation of your physical body, your physical personality. And it's not easy. It's impossible to get to God by means of physical body. Then there is the coconut, which is white. It's hard, but it's softer. That's a representation for your emotional body. So emotional body is bhakti yoga. You use your emotions for God. You feel God, bhakti yoga. So a lot of people have a delusion that, oh, I feel God, I feel God, I feel. You can't. Your feelings do not penetrate. Only the intellect, that inside juice within the coconut that you're supposed to drink, right? That milk, it's your intellect, which is watery in the beginning, not stable, because it runs everywhere. Your intellect can grasp physics, chemistry, music, anything but God. It wants to, right? It's like a monkey mind. Your monkey mind wants everything. So to make it stable, steady, it's almost like a process of turning milk into butter or yogurt. Because yogurt and butter are already inside the milk. You just have to, take it out of it. You have to know the process. So it's a symbol. So So one dot out of the 3 in the coconut, you can drink the juice. So by the intellect, by reading scriptures, spiritual knowledge, and then letting go of desires slowly, gently, one by one, you will eventually will merge with God. You will reunite with God, which is religion. Re means again ligare, unite, connect. Religare, religion. Yoga comes from word huge, unite. So yoga equals religion. It's the same thing. So there's no need to fight. It's the same exact thing. It's a scientific method to bring you towards God. And then traditionally, when they break the coconut, they're supposed to give them to the priest. They don't take it with them. They give it. It's like a donation. It's a sacrifice. It's also symbology that once you get enlightened, you don't need your physical body, your emotional body, or even intellect. Your intellect dies in process of meditation. You become fully spiritually enlightened. So you give it all away to a priest. And that's symbol. And now people just mechanically do it. They break the coconut. Oh, I did good. Mother will ask probably a Hindu child, so how did the coconut break? Oh, it was perfect. It was 2 perfect halves, so it's going to be a good luck for me. You know, that's like a black cat and superstition. Okay, so I have not much left, so bear with me. So, yeah. Oh, also in this Hindu temple, I didn't bring any, but I was kind of observing how people bring in fruits and flowers and coconuts, and what it was happening in each. They have these little huts inside this temple. There's like beautiful huts, and they're inside the darkness, and it's only one door, and only priest can enter that door. You're not supposed to climb there. So when I guess they give them money now also, they pay them money, they bring them candles. So the priest originally lights up this camphor candle and brings it inside the dark studio, not a studio, into this dark temple, inside the temple, and you can see the image of the statue of this god. And there are many, many different gods, because some come towards one, Lakshmi. Again, it's also misunderstanding. There's only one. People go and believe that if they pray to Lakshmi, they get money or get Saraswati knowledge. So the priest enlightens this image. It actually shows you the image of God with this camphor. And what's interesting, camphor has a smell, pleasant smell. And I talked about vasanas in my previous videos. Vasanas, it's your complex desires in immaterial form. They're not material. They're also part of your spirit. But God is behind material and immaterial. That's why this 3 is a sacred number. Because we see only material, we experience material, but the spirit inside of you is beyond material, and God is beyond material and immaterial. That's how difficult it is to come to God, because it's behind material and immaterial. It's a 3-way in. So yeah, they burn this camphor. It's also symbology for you burning all your vasanas. Vas, the 3 letters. Vas means smell. So if you have pleasant desires, you smell good. You're a good person. You have good personality, good character. If you smell bad, you're a horrible person. You have bad desires. You wanted to destroy and kill and steal and whatever, but you smell bad. By the way, recently I've heard that if somebody killed the person, their face eventually gets black and they cannot wash away. It's almost like our physical body get this message that if you do very heavy crimes, it's right up your face. It's right on your face. It's written on your face. So you probably have seen a lot of people with dark faces and you just want to run away from them. There is a reason, because they are karmically tainted, have a lot of sins. So yeah, vasanas comes from smell, vas, and when you burn it in a temple, you're supposed to think that one day you'll be free of your desires. You'll be completely enlightened. They also have a tradition, Agnihotra. I'm not sure if I say correctly, but they burn the fire. They have sacrifice of rice and ghee and oil. And after the fire, they'll use the ash and they'll write 3 lines on their forehead. You've probably seen it, 3 long lines on their forehead. And then they go to the temple to pray. So represents that your physical body, your emotional body, and your intellectual body is supposed to be used to and to reunite with one non-dual God. So that's, but right now a lot of people mechanically do it. They don't think, and they are in this delusion, spiritual delusion, that they're doing something right. Doing something mechanically, the ritual's not going to get you anywhere. And also the namaskar, when they put hands together, that's in yoga namaskar. It's also bringing the duality to singularity. So that's a reminder for people. But they right now just greet each other like namaste, namaste, namaskar. So not even thinking that everything is one God. You and me and them and enemies in Ukraine and Russia. It's all one single non-dual entity. We all part of it. It's always in our heart. So yeah, look into Advaita Vedanta, very good stuff. And don't just look into it, but use copybooks to write things down. Something that really speaks to you, write it up. And then eventually, when you have a lot of material, you will be rereading your own notes. And that will be even better education than reading notes that completely do not resonate with you 100%. Like when you write something that resonates with you, you will learn much quicker. So that's my advice for you. And my last note here is, in Hindu temples, these gurus, these teachers, some of them, not all of them, but they shave their heads completely and they use a long hair just at the temple. Not the temple. What is the word? Timichka in Russian. Maybe you can put it in the comments. But there's a soft spot when the babies are born. They're right in the center, on the top of the skull. And then at the year of 2, the age of 2, it goes back. And that's where these teachers leave their hair. And that's also a significance, because that place is called Bindu Visagra. That's where the spirit body, supposedly. And that's also a point where we are our human body almost like an apple tree hanging out from the apple tree. Apple from the apple tree. So that's, and they actually use the tight string, the rubber string, to hold the hair together at the back. And for the priest, it's a reminder that he is part of God. He is hanging. Imagine God is apple tree and all of us are apples. And not just humans, animals, every piece of creation, we all hanging out from that tree. So we all part of that one giant, beautiful creation. So that's a reminder for them. They keep it tight, and we are all part of the same creation. So imagine we are all leaves on the same tree, or apples, or fruits. And wouldn't it be crazy for us to fight? Like, look at the tree. I mean, it's spread out so evenly so the sun can give energy to every leaf. To every leaf. So, and right now you see leaves are fighting. Fighting for power, fighting for money, fighting for religion's supremacy. Right now it's, if I'm correct with this guru, who could be a shill, it's possibility that they are fighting as we speak for what's going to be the most dominant religion in the future. It's where we come to. Another one is spiritual error. A few weeks ago, I saw this old lady. She's like 90 years old, very nice, very highly spiritual. She believes in her way, and she has, you know, a book that she reads. And so I asked her, like, are you thankful for anything in this life? Oh yes, I'm praying to God all the time to have 2 hands and 2 feet so I can take care of myself. And I'm very thankful and grateful that I have it. And also, this would be a small spiritual error. A lot of people believe just because they have 2 hands and 2 feet, they're standing above in spiritual development from the ones who are crippled, invalid. They have no hand or no arm or no leg. Because a lot of times you'll be surprised that people, when they are disabled, they'll be reading spiritual books even more, and they'll come to God even quicker because they have more time on their hands. But that's not always the case. Again, it's all individual. And this journey towards God is your individual journey. So I hope that this video is very helpful for you. It's a long video. Please press the like if you like the video, if you like the information. Write some comments. Maybe you will find something that I missed, something that, you know, from your own experience, maybe you were previously in some kind of spiritual delusion or some kind of error that you would like to discuss. Share with your friends and family, and don't share too much. If you feel that person is atheist, they don't believe in God, just do it once. If they aggressively attack you, don't touch that person. Give them some time, maybe 5 years, 10 years, maybe they'll change. Who knows? But in the last moments, I'd like to say one of the good things that you can practice is keep on asking yourself, what is wrong with me? That's what I ask myself a lot. What is still wrong with me? Like, Alex, what's wrong with you? And if I find something wrong, then I can correct it. Because if you try to change other people, your family, your friends, you're wasting your time. When you can change yourself, that's the best thing you can do. So asking yourself, what's wrong with me? And not wasting your precious time on criticizing other people, not trying to change them. Because my video is not to criticize any of you or myself in the past. It helps to educate you. This is my videos for educational purposes only. And if you change yourself, great. If somebody asks you, can you please help me to change? Help them. But don't force yourself onto other people, even to your children. Like, give your children some space and some time to come to you for advice. Because if you start living your life as a spiritual person and walking towards God, everybody will notice it, including your children. And they will come for you for advice. But if you constantly tell them, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, they will not listen. And by certain age, they'll be like, enough is enough. I want to get away from this home. I want to go far away from this home. So you cannot force somebody knowledge. It's supposed to be taken. So, and only you personally can destroy your own desires, which is Satan, evil. Look at my video about desires a few weeks ago now. Really good stuff. And don't think it's easy, because a lot of people say, oh, it's easy. I can quit smoking anytime. I can quit drinking alcohol anytime. They brag about it. Push comes to shove. I think that's a phrase. when the push comes to shove, they'll be like, I didn't do it yet. But I can do it. It's easy. I just like it. I enjoy it. So they brag about it, but when it's really you want to do it, it's not that easy. So I wish you all good luck on your spiritual journey. May it be easy for you. It all depends how many desires you have and how much effort you're willing to make. Those two things you have to remember: how many desires you have and how much effort you are willing to put into it. So it's December, 'tis the season. Happy holidays. Stay healthy, stay happy. Best wishes for all of you from Belarus, and I'll see you next time. Bye.